What we embody manifests. What we embody manifests. I have been speaking that for 15 years. And basically what it means is that whatever you embody in here is what shows up out here. And if you want to know what's in here, look out here at what you've got, and that's how you know what you've embodied. 15 years I've been talking about that. This past week, I had an epiphany. And it finally dawned on me that that's inaccurate. It's inaccurate. That actually, what you embody is what you experience. Because two people can have the same circumstance and experience it completely different ways based on their embodiment. You know this. I mean, I've been in a situation where I've been in the same situation twice and noticed I responded. My dog barking, right? Sometimes that dog, he barks and I get so annoyed, and then other times it doesn't bother me at all. What's the difference? What I'm embodying in that moment. Because the problem is if we're thinking about what we embody manifest, it's like, well, what are we seeing we manifested? And how we're seeing it, how we're interpreting it, how we're believing in what is occurring, that's what we've embodied. That's actually what here has nothing to do with the experience. So this past week, you guys know I wasn't here last Sunday. Catherine did this incredible job, right? She was amazing. She didn't find out about it till Saturday and did amazing. So Saturday morning, I wake up with a fever. Got a fever, I'm coughing, I'm sneezing, and I'm like contagious as all get out. So I'm not showing up to things. So I call John Dixon and I say, please take care of the men's group for me, which he does brilliantly. I heard from all the guys. They said he did a great job. Well, Saturday afternoon, I get a call from Bernadette, one of our congregants, who says, hey, do you need anything? And so she brings me over some food. That evening, I get a call from Kenny, another congregant. And he goes, do you need anything? And he brings me over homemade chicken soup. On Sunday, first thing in the morning, I get a call from Sandra. She goes, what do you need? And so before she came to the center here, her husband and her come over and they bring me food and they bring me some other things I needed. Sunday afternoon, I hear from Al, another congregant, and he brings me over a whole bunch of homemade chicken soup. I love homemade chicken soup. Good thing, but I do. And, you know, and I grew up on that. You know, I grew up Jewish, and Jewish tradition, if you're sick, it's chicken soup, baby. That's what you get. And so I was like thrilled. And so, let's see, that was Sunday. Then on Monday morning, I heard back from Bernadette, and she brought me over some homemade fried egg sandwiches, which is exactly what I wanted. And I had plenty of chicken soup, and then Ash got home Monday night. And here's the thing about that. Never in my life, ever, have people reached out to me when I'm not feeling well to check on me. That had never happened before to me. I was in awe of this. I mean, I was in tears about it. That somehow I had embodied whatever it took to have an experience like that. And here's the thing about it. If I had interpreted the problem of being sick, I would have never had that experience. Mark and Melanie checked on me. Jerry checked on me. I mean, people were just calling, getting in touch with me, checking on me. I'd never had that before. In all the years of being sick and in the hospital, I never had that before. It was my first time. So I must have changed. And sure enough, I'm talking to these two guys this morning, and Dell walks by, and I'm talking about how nice Edmonton is, and she says, that's because of me. Adam told me the same thing when Adam throws my teaching in my face. When we're out at Elk Island, I'm talking about how great and nice Edmonton is. He says, well, what if it's you that's changed? I'm like, oh, throw my teaching at me. And so when you're looking at a certain, right, I could have really focused on, because I care about my health and I work really hard to be healthy, and so I could have just been pissed about, I didn't embody enough health, and now I am sick again. I could have been focused there. Maybe you've done that at some point, focused on something that wasn't going right and totally missed the blessing that was going on around you when that was happening. What you embody is what you experience. And whatever the circumstance, if what you're embodying is your highest good, if what you're embodying is that, like what Ash and I work on all the time, is embodying that life is for our good. Life is for everyone's good. Life is for all your good. I spend time embodying that life is for your good. Keep my focus there. And thereby, the circumstances that are going down aren't near as important to me as how I'm experiencing them. Okay, let's see if I can get this right now. I've been practicing, but that doesn't mean I'll get it, but we're going to try here. Brahmans Yogananda. I'm hoping I said his name right. Quote, your trials come to not punish you, but to awaken you. Your trials come to not punish you, but awaken you. Now, it can certainly feel punishing when you got a high fever and you're lying there and you're chilled and all that. That can definitely feel punishing. But I was way too busy focused on, oh my God, all these people are calling and checking on me. Is that cool or what? To be bothered by any of that. And so when I woke up Tuesday with no fever, and then Wednesday with almost all the symptoms gone, I was not surprised that it took care of itself, because that's what happens in an awakened state. Things do transform. But my focus wasn't there. It was on the blessing. And then the other blessing of, finally feeling better, which is great. What you embody, you experience. So whatever the circumstances, check out what you are embodying and how it's impacting your experience. So Catherine was telling you about the buffalo fur last week that I'd gone out to collect, and I was extremely excited about that doing that ritual with you guys last week. And I went out to Elk Island, and this time was led by that higher voice, that higher self that I always follow no matter what, whether my ego mind thinks it's a good idea or not. And it said, this time you're going to walk 16K instead of your normal 8 and take this loop. And I'm like, that sounds far. But being one to follow, I went out there and started out my trek and got about, 6 or 7K out, where I walked into, it came to this field. And in the distance, I could see a few bison. And I'm going to need a bison first, so I go off the trail. and start heading towards them, go around this corner, and in this valley, it's covered with bison. I had never seen that many live bison in my life. I was like, oh my God, that's incredible. I got to get closer. The wind is blowing at my back, which means they can smell me. But being the guy I am, I'm trying to inch my way closer so they don't know I'm coming. And at some point, they all, together, like as a group, just looked up at me. And they're all looking at me now. And I'm standing there frozen, wondering what happens next. And then all of a sudden, as a group, they all just take off. And now I'm getting to watch them run. But here's the most amazing part. The second they start running, a herd of elk comes out of the woods and is running right next to them. And all of a sudden, I'm watching the elk and the buffalo and the bison run together. It was an extraordinary sight. I'm crying, right? I'm like, oh my God, I got to see this. And so I just took it in and took it in as this extraordinary experience. Really took my time with it. When they were gone, and they finally all were, I mean, this field, this valley that was full was now empty. I thought, there's got to be some fur there for me. And there's this, and so I start going that direction, and it turned out that there was this 6-foot wide stream between me and where they were. And I'm like, well, I got a long way to walk after this. Getting wet at this point really isn't the best idea. So I thought, this is going to work out. I don't need to do this. And just followed that intuition, that higher self. I forgot to tell you a part of this story, which is before I ever went out there, my son was still in town, and it was raining all week before this happened. And all he kept asking me was, what's your plan B? What's your plan B? You got to have a plan B. What's your plan B? Because it's early in the season, they're not really shedding that much. Plus, it's pouring rain out there. What's your plan B? And when I sat, one of the things I embody is a certainty with my higher self that it's going to tell me what's true and not true. That I sit and I embody that, and there was no plan B. This was somehow going to work. And I didn't get over that stream, and so it was still going to work. And so I got back on the trail, and I just started off again, knowing, absolutely knowing. You know, if you can embody this kind of level of trust in your life, imagine all the worry you don't have to do. I never once worried that I wasn't going to have enough fur for you guys. And I had no idea how I was going to do it. Can you imagine not worrying with having no idea? That's what's possible when you embody a level of trust, knowing that life is for your good. It's going to work out. And so I'm back on the trail and I'm walking. And I've never done this trail before. I had no idea what was out there. But I wind up in this other meadow. Now I'm about 12K out. And in this other meadow, there's one bison lying down over here. And over here, there are 3 elk eating in the field. And this time, the wind is blowing in my face. This time, I was able to get really close, within 100 feet, and just be with them. Once again, I'm like, oh my God, is this cool or what? Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is ultimate experience type stuff, to be this close to the wild. And at some point, they finally smelled me and looked up and took off. The bison, he left where he was lying down, and the elk took off. And I walked over to where that bison was lying down, and sure enough, it was covered in fur. More than enough for everything for last week. And there it was. And I had it. And I went home. I I got out the pouches and I prayed over and smudged and prayed over each and every one of them. And then they were here for you guys last week. Now the thing about it is I could have been really disappointed to meet that. I mean, I'm the guy who put those pouches together. I could have been really upset about not getting to be the one to give them out. But instead, I was, and maybe you've done that. Maybe you have missed the blessing that was there because you were so focused on, this is the result I wanted. If it's not this result, it's not okay. And missed the fact that there's this gorgeous thing that happened. Yeah, that was a gorgeous thing that happened, but I didn't get to give out those pouches. That could have been where I went. But understanding that what I embody is what I experience. What I wanted to really dive into was the experience of getting to see something that I've never seen before, and I don't know how many people have. And so then I got to have the thrill of somebody else leading the charge on that last Sunday who did a magnificent, brilliant job, and feel the support of that instead of feeling the disappointment that I didn't get to do it. And it changes how you experience life. The circumstance was the same. I didn't get to do it. But my experience of it was different. My experience of it was different than it would have been 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I would have been pissed. I would have been really upset that I didn't give them out. After all the time and energy I putting them together. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't go there. And so I got to really enjoy it. I got to enjoy watching her giving out, and I got to really enjoy what happened for me out there on my and it was my first 16K walk out here. So now I've got that under my belt. And I can't wait to do it again. I think John and I are going out there on Tuesday. So what I've been thinking a lot about this week is, what about horrific experiences? What do you tell somebody who's been through an horrific experience? What we have here, our mission, is to teach spiritual practices that create joy-filled lives. Our vision is a loving, thriving, transformational world. Because that's our vision, we came to a mission that we felt supported that. It may not seem like much, right? Because when you hear, oh, our vision is a loving, thriving, transformational world, the first thing you might think of is, well, then we got to get out there and we got to do this and we got to do that to make that happen. And then what happens when you do that is you wind up fixing things and nothing changes, right? Yes, there are horrific things going on. There's what's going on in the Middle East. There's what's going on in the Ukraine. There's what's going on in the Sudan. There's what the indigenous people here. It goes on and on of the horrific things that happen to people. And what I notice is most want to just get in there and fix it when in fact it needs transformation. Because if all we do is fix it, then it happens again. And that's where joy-filled lives comes into play. That's where these spiritual principles that create joy-filled lives comes into play, because they're actually part of the transformation. How many people here have taken a class and felt some transformation in their lives, some real change? Raise your hands if you have ever taken a class here. That's right, it makes a difference. And then what you've done is probably went and lived that difference in other people's lives who have then lived it in other people's lives. And this is the way we change the world. It doesn't have to happen because we go out there. And I'm not saying don't go out there and do stuff. That isn't my point. But my point is, as long as we keep thinking from a place of fixing, nothing changes. We can try to fix what's going on in Palestine. We can try to fix what's going on in the Ukraine. We can try to fix these things, and nothing will change because the next thing will pop up, because that's how it works. What we embody is what we experience. That what really makes the change is if we can create transformation. And transformation happens through a more and more people experiencing joy-filled lives, because nobody who's having a joy-filled lives wants to go out and hurt somebody else. That isn't the people doing it. As I've talked about it time and time again, the awakened consciousness, the side effects are kindness, compassion, service. They're side effects of just awakening. So the more we can awaken, the more we can learn these principles, then we can create true transformation that actually will change the world, not just fix whatever we think needs fixing. Can you see the difference? So this is what's possible. What we embody, we experience. What we embody, we experience. And how that works is we create joy-filled lives. That's our mission here. We don't have to go outside of here to create a world that is loving, thriving, and transformational. That will happen simply by us transforming ourselves, because the more of us who can transform ourselves, who can awaken, that will then impact anybody else we come in contact with. We see it all the time. I see it all the time. I know you do too. And so I want to end with one of my heroes' favorite quotes. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.